So to jump back up, let me hide this. So, oops, this does this. So when we assign activities, the first rationale video in this chapter is going to talk about activities. They always do this. Hey, once you learn these signs, you'll be able to talk about these things, right? So activity, you'll see it like this, or you see it like this, and you'll also sometimes see it like this, the do hand shape or a sign. So things you do, daily activities. Activities, I think if you remember when we talked about holidays and decorations, so it's kind of that same thing, the things you do, the actively do. And the first of the snapshots shows a common mistake where people will say bed for sleep. The action of sleep is this. So your face collapses, right? Versus bed. And this even, you'll notice the sign for home is this. It's where you eat and where you sleep, right? Where your bed is, right? So there is a difference between those two actions, sleep or sleepy. Because if you're in class and someone says, how are you? And you said, oh, I'm sleepy. And you sign, I'm bed. What is that? Bed, right? So literally think bed versus sleep. They're not interchangeable. So next, if you want to say many signs are directional. So if you wanted to say that you wanted to feed a baby or feed the cat, if you sign or think about literally what you just said. I eat the baby, or using the, so that's subject, verb, object, kind of the English grammatical structure. If you use OSV, the cat, I ate. So food, eat. So food is this sign, but feeding or eating, those verbs are directional. So I'm bringing the food into my mouth to eat it. If I am not going to eat this food, I'm going to give it to whatever I'm feeding it to. So cat, I fed or fed. I tend to, when I sign, and this is probably just how I learned it, was to incorporate food I give them. Cat, food I fed them. So that we know what this is. This isn't like I'm giving my cat some cloth here. Right? So cat, food I gave him. Food right. So keep in mind, you want to look at what's literally being signed because you don't want to eat the dog, right? This whole chapter deals with a lot of clarifications of bed, sleep, feed, eat. And the next one is money, buying, and shop. So this is the sign for money. And I think I'm pretty sure everybody saw it in the first 4 units, but just to make sure, to buy. So what you do when you buy something is you take your money and you give it to someone and then you get something back, right? So I purchase something. You can go out shopping and you're spending money at different stores. Like, technically, this is the sign for store or sell. I've got something, anybody want this? Give me money for it, right? So what you literally sign is, I went there and I sold something. I went there and I sold something. I went there and I sold something. You could say, there's a store there, store there, store there. So if you sign went shopping, what you literally mean is, I went from store to store to store to store. It's not saying what you're doing. You're just going from store to store. So there's the assumption that you're probably not selling stuff. You're actually going to buy stuff. It's clearer if you say shopping because you bought something, bought something, bought something. There are days when I go out shopping with no intention of spending money. I'm just looking and pricing things. And there are other days where I'm buying this, I'm buying that. I'm like very focused. I tend to sign when out shopping. I'm going to hit a couple stores. So you can kind of see the difference. If you happen to work flea markets and on Saturdays, you go to this one in the morning and you sell some stuff, then go here, sell, here, sell. So you can see there's a difference of the act of selling and hitting different shops, or the act of buying. So money, buy, go store to store, go purchasing things. Okay. So even though in English there's not much difference between those concepts, in ASL, how you sign it, if you change any of those parameters, it can really change the meaning. And the last of these snapshots is the difference between store and shop. Why would we fingerspell? Usually this is if it's in the title. Drop it off at the shop. One of the video examples is dropping off a car breaks down. Drop it off at the shop to fix or fix. I tend to say drop it off at the mechanic. Fix. And I tend to sign store. But some people will shop as a lexicalized, one of the fast fingerspell ones. So if you watch the explanation in that one, it's really kind of to explain the difference between the name shop versus store itself, if that makes sense. It's a kind of, all it's really doing is setting up that there are sometimes where people would prefer to fingerspell than to sign. Because if you go to the mechanic, drop it off at the shop, they're not selling anything. They're fixing it and then you're going to pay them. So that it seems like coffee shop, because you're not really, do I want that coffee? No, I want that coffee. No, it's more of shop. I always think of it as like, the words ye old sweet shop, SHOPPE, shop. If it's one of those places we would call, I'm going to go to the shop. I don't fingerspell it very often, just because, or going to the bakery, or bake shop. I don't fingerspell that. I don't like fingerspelling. It's just me. So there's two. For get up, you can either get out of bed, right? I stood up onto the floor for the first time, or wake up. Now shower, you want to repeat this, right? It's not just boop. It's the spray of water. Nothing much I have to say about that. Brush teeth. I've seen people do brush teeth too. Shave. Some people do, like if it's electric, but most of the time I just seen shave. It's the easiest. It's a little old-fashioned, but we don't tend to use this in Ohio that often because this is the sign for Akron, Ohio. So I don't see people shave unless they're like, showing the action of shaving. Most of the time I see people do shave. Dressed, get dressed, clothing, right? Laundry list of what you do, laundry list. Wash, we tend to use fists, the A hand shape, for washing with water. We tend to use, if you saw in 5.4, I think, cleaning, flat hand. This tends to be the dry version of cleaning, like dusting things off, sweeping, where this is like washing windows, wax on, wax off. Makeup, brush hair. Some people will do this for comb. Most of the time people just grade. So for make your bed, I hesitate to say that there is not just one vocab word for it. If you watch What's the Sign, he's simply given a description of what you do to make your bed. Bed, remember, so we start with bed. Clean or nice. Whatever the description, however you make your bed. Some people, it's a duvet and you just go flip, boom, done. Or I used to have a Murphy bed where I'd have to slide it into the wall. That was really creepy. So it'd be like, so make your bed is one of the first ones we've seen where there's a bunch of signs describing the situation. Whatever you do. So take a look at What's the Sign and use his as a default. That's how close off is how I've signed it. So in What's the Sign, they have change clothes, and he basically just takes the clothes and throws them on, throws them to the side. I would say change clothes. I know that's not on these slides right now, but clothes off, or like take the shirt off, throw it away, take the pants off, throw it, whatever. I just find this clothing off to be simple. Become naked, middle fingers. They all work. But take a look at What's the Sign and what they use in the examples. Bathe, take a bath, go to bed, go to sleep. And you'll also see it's a sort of flat seat. This is the bed, mattress, blanket. Here's the person. I'm going to go to bed. Boom. What time to go to bed? Similarly, go to bed with. It's the same action except two people as opposed to that. So my wife and I are going to bed, sleep, old, sleep, right? So go to bed. It's also telling kids, go to bed, get off my lawn. Sleep. If you're feeling sleepy, clean. Wash. Again, remember, fists for a wet wash. Washing dishes, washing clothes, laundry. And you'll see in the video some people tilt it to the side, but laundry. Folding. Clothes, fold. Right. Ironing. Again, we've talked about, remember, feeding is directional. So, and this can be giving anything, generally speaking, the default is food. So give a bottle. Cat. And if you rub your fingers together, it's a little bit food. We also use this for paying money. We can pay, or we can, I'm paying them, I'm feeding them money, right? Feels like everyone's being fed my money. Dog out. So taking the dog or dog out, walk, bathroom, play, exercise. And, often walk in a circle, right? Here's me and my dog, right? Study. I'm setting up just two arbitrary spaces. Doesn't matter one side or the other. But like if you're driving, it's a directional. It's not this for drive. It's this. And in one of the videos, she does this. don't remember which chapter it was. Driving around in circles, had a bunch of errands to do. So drive is a movement with the hands, not like put them up, right? So drive, or car, drive. So bus, ride to school. You can also do the location. And that's a really good grammatical structure to get used to, is that object, subject, verb. Location, I go, I travel. Because we don't use it very often in English, so the more you practice it in ASL, the easier it'll be to just pick whichever one you want to use. Work. Some people also do job. So just finish with job. It's not often used for like if you're talking about work, but job, I have to go. Office, leave. Or office. This tends to be like, so you're going out. Work, I left, or left, or took off, got out of there. Store, I go, or go to store. If you're going to do go to store, try to put the store where you're signing. So go to store, as opposed to go to the store, because then the store's here. You want to be go to the store. Arrive home. Boom. So this is home base. If you think about your signing space as being a baseball diamond, you've got one base here, you've got one base here, and one base here. Those are the default places where you're going to sign. Home base is where I am and where I live. So arrive home. Arrive home. Make. It's usually 2 taps. Bump, bump. Make. Sometimes you'll see people do. What's hard is this is also the sign for make out. If you look, here's 2 heads rubbing against each other, in silhouette. So make. I tend to suggest make for right now until you get more comfortable with manipulating these signs. Make. So it's like work, but make. Cook. Eat. Feed. Right. Now, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You will see in most dictionaries, what's the sign, I'm sure does it, where they will say morning eat, or noon eat, or night eat, evening eat, right? You don't need to sign the time reference if it's already established in the conversation. So if you're giving a list of, here's what I did before coming into school, what I said was, I got up in the morning at 6 in the morning, went through brushing teeth, shower, ate. We already know it's morning. I wouldn't eat lunch in the morning. So we've already set up morning. And you will see people go, and it's like, man, I already know it's morning. Like I'm not dumb. I haven't forgotten it, right? So with each of these breakfast, lunch, and dinner, if you've already established the time, if it's understood, you don't have to add it. If out of nowhere you're talking about something, you're like, oh, well, my morning meal is this, afternoon meal is this, and at night is this, or you're saying like, so if you're specifically saying, oh, well, at this time I did this, at this time this time of day I did this, this time of day I did this, then you could set it up. You can also, in one of the videos, in one of the conversation videos, talked about morning, afternoon, night. So morning, eat this. Afternoon, I eat this. And at night, I eat that. So you can see how the time reference, if you have to establish it, that's when you sign it. If it's understood, you don't have to sign it. So don't just memorize morning eat means breakfast. It's not a one-on-one or one-to-one comparison. So reviewing a day, that's what I just talked about with boom, boom, boom. Morning, 6. And you can, if you go through these with whatever happens, go through your day and just figure out, you can use a list. But if you're using times, you've got it. This is your time reference. 6:30, a creepy guy peeks into my bathroom. I'm not exactly sure. Come on. So you've got all the morning. You can show the clock going up here. And then 30. So there's lots of ways you can organize. You can use a list, especially if there's 5 or a very small number, then this is easy. You can use generic list, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, first, seventh, third. You can use time, morning, or you can just go. It helps if you can move through space, helps us separate what those are, and then to give a time reference for each one or a order for second, third. So go through each of these, practice with your own day. It's going to be what you talk about. When in doubt, always go with your life. If you've got to practice fingerspelling, practice names of people and places in your life. Where do you work? Who are your coworkers? Who are your family members? Who's your significant other? Anything like that. Practice those things because those are the things you want to fingerspell quickly. So a whole bunch of stuff. You can practice all this, go through the vocab, the course of minding. And again, this is for the purpose of you learning. So if you got to make stuff up, make stuff up. If you're lying, lie. I don't care. I'm not going to say, no, you got up at 6:30 this morning, not 7. I was there. I saw you. That's way too creepy. So think about these questions. How would you answer? Like in class with us, I always ask, how are you? What did you do yesterday? What did you do since the last time I saw you? You could say, oh, and then these are the conversation starter questions. Okay, I want to insert a little bit more of a discussion or a couple more things about the conversation starters, because I think it will help going into them and watching the videos. One of the things that I want to say is actually jumping back up into snapshot 2, where we've seen this a few times in videos from previous chapters. This is a tidbit of information, a little bit of advice. Let me throw you a bone, a snack-sized Snickers, right? A bite-sized thing. So they're going to use that little bit of information that will help you. A hint. We did bed and sleepy, eat and feed. So the first conversation starter. Keep in mind, like with meals, time is oftentimes established by context. Like if you are getting up in the morning or waking up or going to bed, that, or going to sleep, going to bed, that the time is usually assumed, that it's either AM for morning stuff, PM for late stuff. for night stuff. So you don't always have to say, AM, PM, AM, PM. Don't have to. Usually the best thing is if it's not been established or if it's changing. If you're talking about stuff in the morning and then all of a sudden it's night, to show that change in time. Or now at 7 at night. Right? So that's for the first conversation starter. The next notes I have are 6 a.m., 6 in the morning, 6 in the morning. Some people will cite, like, there are ways where you can incorporate the numbers in, like, 6 in the morning, but it's kind of rare. It's very stylized. People will tend to do it in storytelling as opposed to normal conversation. Noon, 6 in the morning. In the one conversation with the deafblind woman, she signs 9, and you clearly know she's going to bed at 9 p.m. You don't have to say 9 in the morning or a.m. or, in that case, p.m. Brush teeth. Weekly versus bi-weekly, every 2 weeks. All day versus, morning, noon, afternoon, night, right? So you can break that up. And talking about the meals. So really, those are just a couple of things to keep in mind before going into each of them. I may not have needed to add this, but I wanted to just be careful. Discuss your daily routines. And here's the vocab. So go through all of those, double check, make sure you understand them all. But that's really 5.6. What makes these more and more complicated is now you can add in all of those time references from the previous chapters into these. Every 2 weeks I do laundry. Once a month I feed the cat. I don't know. He's very hungry. Once a month I feed the anaconda. He eats he eats a coyote, and then he's good for a month. I don't know. Just making it up. Okay. So go back through and double check all of those vocab. Look at them in the what's the sign? And that's 5.6.